Hi everybody, I'm back for my next video about fan theories. Sorry about that, I dropped my iPad on the ground. So, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my top 20 fan theories from different TV shows that I watch. In past videos, I have talked about fan theories from Friends. And also, in my last video I did about fan theories, I talked about theories from The Office and How I Met Your Mother and Seinfeld. And a couple of the theories from my last video might be repeated, so sorry for being repetitive. I will list all of the videos in the description box that these fan theories are mentioned in. Number 1 is for Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Sorry, no. It's for Modern Family. 2 separate theories posit that the documentary is being filmed by Luke or Manny as a way to chronicle events that happened in their family. And I like this theory because you see throughout the show that they are both very interested in filmmaking. And I mean, I think they probably edited together both of their documentaries to try to get in both of their viewpoints about their families as a way to honor Jay as he gets older. Across the videos that I have watched about fan theories, the following theory has come up for 3 different characters. George from Seinfeld, Phoebe from Friends, and Kevin from The Office. And all of these characters are said to be geniuses. There is a whole video about how George manipulates everybody in Seinfeld that goes into the various details about how he is a genius of manipulation that I will tag in the description for this video, along with the Seinfeld video with this fan theory in it. For Phoebe being a genius, I would point you guys in the direction of the episode where she has the argument with Ross about evolution, because that proved to me that she's a lot smarter than she lets on. And she also, for somebody who lives on the street, she knows French and Italian. She's very smart, and you would think that she wouldn't. People might pass her off as kind of ditzy and stupid, but this theory proves that she's smart. And with Kevin, he ends up opening his own bar after he gets fired from Dunder Mifflin. And another theory about Kevin is that he is embezzling money from the company. And Kevin's genius is shown in the way he plays stupid when he's actually really smart, and he's claimed to be embezzling money from the company, and he creates his own way of doing math, but that's kind of bullshit because Angela and Oscar end up doing all of his work. The next fan theory is for Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. This is a sad and dark theory, so you're all familiar with the theme song of Fresh Prince. You are all familiar with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song, right? It's the rap song that goes, "This is a story about how my life got twisted upside down. So I'd like to take a moment just sitting right there and tell you about a town called Bel-Air." And he goes on to say how he got into a fight on the playground. Well, in this fight on the playground that he talks about in the theme song, he actually dies. And the rest of the theme song and the show itself is his ascension into heaven. And the Banks family are like spiritual guides to teach him along the way. And Uncle Phil is basically God. So I find that theory to be really interesting to speculate upon. I never considered the fact that Will could have died in the theme song, but this theory makes me view the theme song and the entire series a whole lot differently. And now I want to kind of go back and watch the show from the beginning to apply this theory to the episodes, because I think that would be interesting. The next theory is from SpongeBob SquarePants. The characters represent the 7 deadly sins. So Wicked Binge has done a video about SpongeBob theories, and this was one of the main theories they talked about in that video. And also the other theory on sitcoms, the other video about fan theories on Sitcoms Explained that I found talks about this theory too. So as it clearly states in the title, the characters represent the 7 deadly sins. Mr. Krabs is greed, because all he thinks about is money. Plankton is envy because of how he wants to steal the Krabby Patty formula. SpongeBob is lust because of his love for life, but also Pearl the whale could fit lust because she's a teenager obsessed with boys. Patrick is sloth because he's lazy. He could also represent gluttony because he eats a lot. Squidward is wrath because he's always angry and rude to people. And then Gary is also gluttony because he eats a lot. And obviously throughout the whole entire cartoon series of SpongeBob, you can see how these characters emulate the 7 deadly sins. So I don't think this theory needs a lot of depth to go into it because it's pretty obvious. Okay, this is one of my favorite fan theories about Friends. How many of you guys have seen a CW series, Riverdale, which is based off on Archie comics? So, this theory posits that Chandler wrote Riverdale, and it connects to the episode, The One That Could Have Been, which is a flashback episode to like what would have happened if they had gone different directions in their careers. In this episode, the thing I like the best about this flashback episode is there's no fat shaming of Monica, and Chandler and Monica still end up together even though Monica is still overweight. So in Chandler's storyline for this episode, he is a writer for Archie Comics instead of working at the job where he is in statistical analysis and data reconfiguration. So he writes for the New Yorker as a comedy writer, and he also writes about the Archie comic characters, and he reads the Archie comics. So I like this theory because also, if you have read Matthew Perry's book, he talks about how he was into writing TV show scripts and stuff like that. So if Matthew Perry had not passed away, I could have seen him maybe writing a sequel to Riverdale and having it be a spin-off about Jughead, who is he the one that was... See, I have not seen Riverdale yet. I've been meaning to check it out. Is Jughead the one that was played by Cole Sprouse? Because my thought... Here's how this theory goes even further. I think that he wrote Riverdale and also cast his nephew Ben as Jughead because Cole Sprouse plays Jughead. How I Met Your Mother. Marshall resents his friends and uses a slap bet to take out his anger on them. So I have not watched How I Met Your Mother since it came out. But when I did watch it, when it was originally airing, I did really notice that Marshall seemed really angry at his friends. And I did not like the way he took his anger out by using a slap bet. I just thought he was really mean. And he probably should have gone to counseling to figure out better ways to process his anger, so that way he didn't treat his friends bad. But I have to say, one of the most emotional episodes of How I Met Your Mother is when Marshall's dad dies and Lily tells him that his dad has passed away. That episode is so sad. And, like, that episode is, like, one of the most emotional episodes of How I Met Your Mother. I would say it is right up there with the episode of Friends where Monica and Chandler find out that they cannot have children naturally. Because the acting in both of these episodes between Matthew Perry and Courtney Cox and Jason Segel and Allison Hannigan are, like, top-notch phenomenal. So go back and watch those episodes if you need a good cry, because I haven't watched the How I Met Your Mother episode in a long time, but every time the one with the fertility test is on TV, I got tissues right next to me. The Simpsons. Homer has been in a coma since 1993, and the rest of the series is his fantasy. I watched The Simpsons a little bit as a kid, and I've seen a few episodes as an adult, but I have not seen the episode that this theory is referencing. It's the episode where it's called Homer the Heretic, where Homer gets a prediction that he's going to die in 6 months, and then 6 months later, he has an accident where a soda machine falls on him, and he is in a coma, and then the rest of the series gets progressively crazier, and this theory explains the reasoning why the characters do not age, and Bart is forever 10, and Lisa is forever 8, and Maggie does not progress past being a baby for 30 years. That is the whole reason for all of that mess. I need to watch The Simpsons more often. I don't really watch it that much. A adult cartoon I enjoy is Family Guy, actually. I find that to be really funny. And my friends from New Hampshire found that really surprising when I told that to them a couple weeks ago, because I guess they didn't think I would like the humor in Family Guy, but it's actually quite funny. I think Seth MacFarlane is a really good comedy writer. I mean, I hated the movie he did, Ted, that was about the teddy bear. That is kind of similar in character to Brian from Family Guy and how, like, crass he can be. But yeah, I mean, I need to watch more episodes of The Simpsons, I guess, to connect with this fan theory more. Number 9, Friends. Okay, so this is 2 theories combined into one, and it's about Ross and Rachel's relationship. The first theory about Ross and Rachel's relationship that I've heard in these videos is that it's Rachel's dream of how her life is after walking out on her wedding to Barry. So I have heard about this theory somewhere else before. I think I saw it on either Reddit or Instagram or Facebook. And it's based on the cover art for the season 4 DVD, where you see all of the characters laying together in bed, and Jennifer Aniston is the only person with her eyes opened. As you know, Jennifer Aniston plays Rachel. And yeah, I think based on the cover art for season 4 DVD case, this theory checks out. The other theory that I have heard about Ross and Rachel's relationship through these fan theory videos is actually sadder than the one about Rachel, because it's basically after season 5 when Ross has his breakdown about his coworker eating his Thanksgiving Day sandwich. It's about his life falling apart after season 5 and not handling well losing custody of Ben, because Carolyn and Susan end up getting full custody of him, and he doesn't deal with this very well, so he is stuck in a fantasy where he's with Rachel and has a family with her, with Emma, as a way to cope with losing Ben, when in reality, he probably doesn't have custody over Emma either, because Rachel probably decides to get full custody of Emma because of Ross's erratic behavior, even though... So, the interesting thing I see about Ross and Rachel is that they agree, and the one where Monica sings, that they are not compatible. So, given the fact that they agree on that, wouldn't Ross then give up his fantasy about living through the rest of his life with Rachel and, like, move on and try to date other people? I mean, this episode really makes me feel sad for Ross, and it also totally negates what happens at the end of the show with Rachel getting off the plane to Paris, because basically this is what my theory is and my headcanon is for Ross and Rachel's relationship. I've written a whole fan fiction about this too, about how it all ties back to the conversation that Ross has with Janice at the hospital when Janice says that she's going to end up being a single mother. And then this makes Rachel second guess marrying Ross because of all his erratic behavior and how he's been mean to her in the past, how he cheated on her with the coffee shop girl in season 3. So, in my headcanon, Rachel does not get off the plane to Paris. She and Emma go to Paris. She works at Ralph Lauren for 10 years, and then not Ralph Lauren, I'm sorry, Louis Vuitton. She works at Louis Vuitton for 10 years and then moves back to New York to open her own store in Westchester, which Emma and Erica and Phoebe's niece Chandler all end up working at. So it's kind of like a family business type of thing. And yeah. And basically in my trajectory of fanfiction, Rachel ends up with 2 different people. In one storyline, she ends up with Joey, which I know that Jennifer Aniston and Matt LeBlanc were against that plot line, because it's been stated in other videos I've seen on YouTube. And the other person I pair her up with, which I think was fun to write, is Gunther. I wrote a whole story about how Gunther and Rachel end up together. And, I mean, it goes up to present day when James Michael Tyler dies from cancer, and I basically wrote it in order to honor his death that happened in 2021. Next, we have Rugrats. Angelica imagines the babies to deal with loneliness. I definitely picked up on this theory as a kid when I was watching Rugrats, and I felt really sad for Angelica because she was obviously neglected by her parents because her mom was always working and her dad was not really present either. And it's really sad that she imagines the babies as imaginary friends because it really turns the show on its head and shows you that the babies aren't real. So, as far as this theory goes, Tommy is a stillborn and dies when he's born. Chucky dies in a car accident with his mom, which is why his dad is always nervous and anxious. And Phil and Lil were aborted, but Angelica pictured them as twins because she didn't know what the baby looked like, so she pictured them as two different babies. The only baby that actually exists is Dill, who is Tommy's little brother, who is born in the first movie. And she doesn't treat Dill very well because she's really angry, and that's what this dark theory says, is that she doesn't like Dill and she hits him. There's also a dark theory from a Wicked Binge video, which I'll link in the description, that says that Dill is autistic, and I just watched this video again for research for this video, and that theory really makes me sort of upset because it makes autism look like a bad thing when it isn't. And I feel like complaining to Wicked Binge about that whole theory. I mean, it's a theory that was posted on Reddit, and maybe this person who posted the theory on Reddit doesn't know anything about autism. But yeah, the phrasing of that fan theory really makes me sort of upset. Number 11, Big Bang Theory. Penny is a PhD student. I like this theory about Penny because it gives her character a lot more depth than just her working at the Cheesecake Factory as a waitress. So, as you know, Penny lives across the hall from Leonard and Sheldon, and she eventually becomes friends with them and Raj and Howard. And basically, this theory is saying that Penny is a PhD student, probably at UCLA or somewhere, or maybe even at Caltech, where all of the guys are scientists, and she is analyzing them for her thesis about high intellectual people. And she's basically observing the behaviors of all the guys in the show and how they act. And later in the series, when she gets the job in pharmaceuticals, she's basically observing them to see what kind of medicines she can prescribe to the people who might have these disorders or something. I don't remember how her job in pharmaceuticals connects to her PhD exactly based on the theory, but I think that theory is really cool because it really makes you think hard about the nature of this show and all of these characters. And one thing that was interesting in this video is that one thing that's interesting about the Big Bang Theory is an actual scientist was on the staff of the show, so that way they could check all of the physics equations that Sheldon was doing. And I really appreciate that show because, I grew up with shows like Bill Nye the Science Guy and The Magic School Bus, and that is how I learned my science when I was not in school. And the cool thing about the Big Bang Theory is that I never studied physics in high school because I was more of a creative person and not a science and math-minded person. And, I mean, a lot of the stuff in the Big Bang Theory went over my head, a lot of the science stuff, but it was also very interesting, and it was stuff I never learned in school. So I really appreciate the actors on that show for all they taught me on physics, because I never learned anything about that in school. Next up, another theory that goes over multiple shows is Phoebe and Penny working for the CIA. As I was saying in the theory about Phoebe being a genius, this theory overlaps with Phoebe being a spy for the CIA, because obviously her highly intelligent nature with knowing multiple languages, keeping track on where all her friends are, whatever. Those are certain aspects of her that can be attributed to being a spy. And the theory about Penny is basically saying that she lives in the apartment across the hall so she can spy on Sheldon, Raj, Leonard, and Howard and, like, steal their ideas for their science, and also, like, tap their phones to make sure they're not doing anything that the government wouldn't approve of or something. I really like the PhD theory better for Penny than the CIA, because it makes her more of a well-rounded character that can analyze the behavior of these characters instead of, like, being a CIA spy and spying on them. The Office. Jim cheated on Pam. Okay, so I have not seen these episodes yet. We are only we are only on, like, season 4, episode 5, and Jim cheating on Pam doesn't happen until season 6 or season 7. But the reason why I chose to talk about this theory in this video was because I really admire John Krasinski and Matthew Perry for standing up to the writers of their respective TV shows, for standing up against a plot line that involves cheating, because as somebody who has been cheated on, it sucks to be cheated on, and I would have hated to see Monica get cheated on. And as I just said, I can't comment on this Jim and Pam storyline yet, because we're not at that point in the show. We're only in early season 4 at the moment, but I will circle back to this theory when I make a video about season 5 through 9 theories of The Office, and talk more about this theory in specific, and also all the theories about the Scranton Strangler, because those theories relate to Toby's character. Big Bang. Okay, number 14 is the Big Bang Theory, and this is about Raj. So, if you have seen the Big Bang Theory, you would have noticed that Raj Petricali, who is the character who is is he Asian? I forget what nationality he is. I think he's Asian, right? Or Chinese. I forget what nationality he is, but he is selectively mute, and he uses this as a way to get women to date him, but then his relationships don't last very long, and he uses alcohol as a way to help him with his shyness around girls, until one episode in season 6 where he talks to Penny completely sober, and we realize that he really hasn't been working hard to improve his behavior so that way he can be less socially awkward. He basically flatlines his behavior and doesn't do anything to help himself improve in his relationships, which is sad. I really felt bad for Raj at the end of The Big Bang Theory because he ended up with nobody. The same thing happened with Joey at the end of Friends, which made me feel sad for him. And it was even sadder because the spinoff got canceled halfway through season 2, so you don't know how it ended. But now that the whole second season is on YouTube, I'm gonna watch the whole second season to see what happens. I'm pretty sure Joey ends up being in a relationship with Alex, but I'm not completely sure. Number 15. Alex is adopted, and she projects this onto Luke because Claire and Phil have not told the rest of the family. So in one episode, Alex says to Luke that he's adopted, but she is basically projecting on to herself that she is projecting her confusion onto him about her own parentage. So let's talk about the Dunphys. Phil and Claire, who are the parents in Modern Family, they had a shotgun wedding because Claire got pregnant with Haley, and they couldn't conceive in between Haley and Luke, so that's why they adopted Alex. And Alex is the smartest of the three kids. Not to say that Haley and Luke are not smart, but I mean, Alex gets into Caltech just like Sheldon does in Young Sheldon. So, like, it would have been really interesting to see if, like, they met at Caltech at one point or another, because I'm sure that they must have. I might write a fan fiction about that, because that would actually be fun to explore. But, yeah, I feel really bad for Alex because, I mean, I cannot relate to being a genius. But I also think that Haley's intelligence was sort of insulted a little because there were some situations where she did not come off as very smart, but she was definitely smarter than she put herself out as, I think. And, like, I just felt so bad for Alex because I think she was neglected by her parents, and the two biological kids were favored over her, which was not fair. It's just like the Ross over Monica favoritism in Friends. But yeah, I really like Alex. She's my favorite character in Modern Family besides Cam and besides Lily, who is the daughter of Cam and Mitchell. How I Met Your Mother. Lily manipulated Ted's relationship so he doesn't break apart the friend group. As I said, I have not watched How I Met Your Mother since it originally aired, from 2005 to 2015. Or 2014. I don't remember when it ended. But, yes. This is one thing I did not like about Lily, who was played by Allison Hannigan in How I Met Your Mother. I did not like how she was manipulative of Ted. He should have just let Ted do his own thing. I think she was too obsessive with having the friend group stay together. There's another fan theory from this video about How I Met Your Mother that I watched that says that the whole group is toxic for each other, and I absolutely think that that's correct, because in the previous theory that I mentioned about How I Met Your Mother, with the one with Marshall resenting his friends and using the slap bet to get out his anger, I think he would definitely resent Lily for manipulating Ted's relationships because Ted was his best friend, and I'm sure he didn't like being put in the middle of his relationships like that. I don't really know if that's how he felt, because as I said, I haven't watched the show in a while, but based on all of these fan theories that I have been hearing about this show, now I want to go back and rewatch it. Because in my last video, I talked about other How I Met Your Mother fan theories, which I can pull up and then flip back. The other How I Met Your Mother fan theories that were shocking to me, from the last video that I did, was Friends is Tracy's imagined versions of Ted's friend group as she is passing away. So, I love how this theory connects Friends and How I Met Your Mother together because, seriously, Miss Mojo has a whole YouTube video about how I Met Your Mother kind of rips off Friends, and this theory kind of proves that whole aspect of things. So this theory basically, so for those of you who have not seen How I Met Your Mother, the whole framework of it is Ted is telling his kids, Luke and Paige, about how they met her mother, how he met their mother, Tracy, who is basically used as a plot device to say how he ends up with Robin. Ted was played by Josh Radnor, and Robin was played by Colby Smulders. So Tracy, who is the mother of Luke and Paige, she basically inserts herself into the group as Phoebe because she plays guitar in a wedding band, just like Phoebe is a guitar player. Ted is Ross because he's an intellectual and he's a college professor, and my prediction is that Ted and Ross taught at the same university, just in different time periods. Ross gets the job in NYU in season 5 of Friends, which is in the late 90s. Ted is a professor at NYU in the mid-2000s to early 2010s. So, I bet that if Ross was still teaching at NYU during the time that Ted was, they probably saw each other in a hall or something. But Ross is very similar to Ted, not only because he's a professor, but because he also dates his students. Students, too. So as you all know from the video I did about Ross, the one thing I hate the most about Ross is that he dates his student, Elizabeth. I cannot remember the names of the 2 students that he dates in How I Met Your Mother, but yeah, I just think that he is total carbon copy of Ross. Robin is Rachel, and I might as well just talk about the other How I Met Your Mother fan theory in this, because it connects to the whole dynamic of Robin and Ted. This theory basically flat out says that Robin and Ted were toxic for each other, and just like Rachel and Ross, I totally agree that they were toxic. I do not think they should have ended up together at the end of the show, just like I didn't think that Ross and Rachel should have ended up together, because just like the dynamic between Ross and Rachel, they sabotage each other's relationships. They're never happy for each other when they're together with other people. And then Lily inserts herself into the relationships and tries to make sure that Robin and Ted are always together when clearly they're not happy with each other or meant to be together. So I honestly think that since Ted and Robin were not on the same wavelength of having kids, I really think that Josh's kids are Barney's, and also that the baby that Barney has later in the show is also Robin's child. So, basically, I think those kids are all Barney's kids, and he is basically trying to rewrite the story, because if you have seen How I Met Your Mother, you would see that Barney does get married to Robin, and then they get divorced after a couple of years. And really, I think that How I Met Your Mother is basically Ted being jealous of Barney because he ends up with Robin and he doesn't. So that's the story he's trying to tell his kids. He's trying to romanticize him and Robin together when they were toxic for each other, and when they're probably Barney's kids. The two kids are probably Barney's. Lily and Marshall are Monica and Chandler, which I definitely saw that they were very similar to Monica and Chandler. Although, back to the theory I was just saying about Lily manipulating Ted's relationships. Monica was never like that with Rachel and Ross. And I was very happy about that. And then Joey is Barney because he's the womanizer. And, yeah. But the one difference that I saw between Barney and Joey is Barney shows a lot of character growth and maturity, because he does end up marrying Robin and then they end up divorcing, but that baby Ellie is probably Robin's daughter. Joey does not end up together with anybody at the end of Friends. If I saw him with anybody, who did I picture him the most with? I don't really know. Probably Alex from the spinoff, but out of all the girls he dated on Friends, who do I see him the most with? Erin, maybe? The one who was played by Kristen Davis. That's the only one that stands out to me as, like, even though their relationship didn't work out, maybe they got together at a later time, like, in between episodes or something, and became friends. I don't know. For some reason, I didn't really... Because I don't think Joey was really compatible with any of the girls that he dated. The girl that I thought he was compatible with was the girl he was in the play with in season 4. Not Kathy, but the other girl. I think her name was Kate. The actress that he was in the play with, where he goes to outer space at the end of the play. I forget what play that was, but the actress's name was Kate. So it was either Kate or Erin for me, for Joey. But he probably ended up with Alex in the Joey spinoff, most likely. Okay, the next fan theory from this list I wanted to talk about is Friends. Joey and Monica are addicts. I I don't have information for this theory in front of me, but I think the video I watched basically said that it has to do with food, because obviously Monica is a chef and Joey loves to eat the food that she cooks. So this also could probably relate to the plotline of Monica being fat, that I hate, because in the flashback episodes, there's a plot where Joey and Monica end up together, and they both end up being overweight, which I don't particularly care for very much. I just talked about Robin and Ted being toxic. The final fan theory I wanted to talk about is Friends. This theory is really sad. Oh, I talked about it already. It's the one where Phoebe is looking in the window of Central Park, and imagining herself in the relationships with the characters. This theory is so sad because it makes me view the show in a totally different way that I don't really like. So that's it for me. Have a great night, everybody.